Dalai Lama's call for peace and moral leadership, a timeless message to Donald Trump. The congratulatory letter from His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Donald Trump was much more than a ceremonial gesture. It was a profound appeal for peace, stability, and compassion in an era of increasing global tensions. Rooted in his enduring philosophy of nonviolence and compassion, the Dalai Lama's message serves as a timeless call for leaders to embrace moral responsibility and act in the interest of humanity. This letter, imbued with both urgency and hope, offers valuable insights not just for political figures but for anyone seeking to lead a meaningful life. Let us delve into the depths of this message, uncover its philosophical underpinnings, and explore its relevance to the challenges we face today. The Dalai Lama's reverence for American ideals. The letter begins with a sentiment that speaks volumes about His Holiness's perception of the United States. "I have long admired the United States of America as the champion of democracy, freedom, and the rule of law," he writes. This opening is not merely a diplomatic nicety. It reflects the Dalai Lama's genuine respect for the values that have defined America in the global arena. For a spiritual leader whose homeland has endured decades of suppression, these principles represent more than abstract ideals, they are tangible beacons of hope. Democracy, freedom, and the rule of law symbolize resilience and the capacity for societies to rebuild and flourish even in the face of adversity. To the Dalai Lama, the United States is not just a country. It embodies the potential for humanity to rise above division, prejudice, and conflict to create systems that promote justice, equality, and human dignity. These ideals align closely with his lifelong advocacy for peace, compassion, and universal responsibility. However, his words carry an implicit duality. While they express admiration, they also serve as a gentle but pointed challenge. Is America still living up to its role as a global moral compass? Are its leaders and citizens upholding the principles that have historically made it a symbol of freedom and democracy? The Dalai Lama's reflection is not simply a tribute. It is a call to self-examination. This admiration comes with a deeper purpose. The Dalai Lama's message urges the United States to reflect on its foundational values, especially during times of internal and external challenges. In an era marked by political polarization, social inequality, and global crises, his words remind America of the importance of staying true to the principles that have inspired millions worldwide. He subtly invites American leaders to transcend partisan divides, promote unity, and act as stewards of these values both domestically and on the global stage. Furthermore, his message extends beyond the realm of politics. It resonates with citizens at all levels, encouraging them to engage in self-awareness and collective action. In his vision, the ideals of democracy, freedom, and the rule of law are not the sole responsibility of governments, they are a shared duty. By emphasizing the role of individuals in shaping a just and equitable society, the Dalai Lama underscores that these values must be lived out in everyday interactions, decisions, and actions. His reverence for American ideals is also a reminder of their universal applicability. The principles the Dalai Lama admires are not confined to any one nation, they represent aspirations that transcend borders, cultures, and religions. They reflect the shared yearning of humanity for a world where dignity, fairness, and opportunity are accessible to all. In this context, the United States, as a historic advocate for these values, is seen as a steward of a greater global responsibility. The Dalai Lama's letter is both an homage and a call to action. It acknowledges the profound impact of American values while urging reflection and renewal. By reminding the United States of its potential to lead by example, the Dalai Lama encourages a collective recommitment to the ideals that have inspired hope and progress for generations. His words challenge America to not only remember its legacy but to actively shape a future where democracy, freedom, and the rule of law remain guiding lights for the world. A call for courageous leadership in uncertain times. In the ever-shifting landscape of our world, moments of great uncertainty demand extraordinary leadership. It is during such times that humanity looks to its leaders not just for solutions but for inspiration, hope, and moral clarity. The Dalai Lama, a figure revered for his spiritual wisdom and commitment to peace, addressed this very need in a poignant letter to former U.S. President Donald Trump. His plea for courageous leadership transcends political boundaries and speaks to the essence of what it means to lead in a complex and fragile global environment. The depth of this message calls for reflection, understanding, and, most importantly, action. Understanding the call for leadership. The Dalai Lama's appeal begins with an acknowledgement of the challenges facing the world. His words, directed at a political leader of significant influence, carry a weight that extends beyond the individual. They are an invitation, or perhaps a challenge, to embody a form of leadership that prioritizes the collective good over personal or national interests. In addressing Donald Trump, he speaks to all leaders, urging them to consider the broader implications of their actions and decisions. What does it mean to lead in uncertain times? This question is not merely rhetorical. It is a foundational query that demands introspection. Leadership, as framed by the Dalai Lama, is not confined to the domains of political strategy or economic policymaking. It is deeply rooted in ethical principles, encompassing wisdom, compassion, and foresight. These qualities are neither optional nor aspirational. They are essential for navigating the intricate web of global challenges. The fragility of the global landscape. To understand the urgency of the Dalai Lama's message, one must first grasp the fragility of our interconnected world. Modern society is characterized by profound interdependence, a fact that is both a strength and a vulnerability. The world's economies, ecosystems, and social systems are so tightly interwoven that a disruption in one area can ripple across the globe with alarming speed. Consider the crises that have marked recent decades. Armed conflicts, rising nationalism, widening economic disparities, and the existential threat of climate change. These issues are not isolated phenomena, they are deeply interconnected. Climate change exacerbates resource scarcity, which in turn fuels conflicts. Economic inequality breeds social unrest, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The rise of nationalism undermines international cooperation, making it harder to address shared challenges. In this context, the Dalai Lama's call for leadership is particularly resonant. He implores leaders to recognize the interconnectedness of these issues and to approach them with a spirit of collaboration and empathy. This is not merely a moral imperative. It is a practical necessity. Solutions to global problems require a collective effort, guided by a shared commitment to the common good. The essence of true leadership. At its core, leadership is about service. This idea, while ancient, often feels lost in contemporary political discourse. Too frequently, leadership is conflated with power, domination, or the pursuit of self-interest. The Dalai Lama's vision offers a stark contrast. He reminds us that true leadership is grounded in the principles of wisdom and compassion. Wisdom, in this context, involves the ability to see beyond immediate concerns and short-term gains. It requires a deep understanding of the complexities of the modern world and a willingness to engage with those complexities in a thoughtful and deliberate manner. Compassion, on the other hand, is the capacity to empathize with others and to act in ways that prioritize their well-being. Together, these qualities form the foundation of a leadership style that is both effective and ethical. This vision of leadership is not limited to political figures. It extends to leaders in all spheres of life, business executives, community organizers, educators, and even individuals within their own families. The call to lead with wisdom and compassion is universal, reflecting the shared humanity that binds us all. Historical lessons on leadership. History offers numerous examples of leaders who embodied the qualities described by the Dalai Lama. Consider Mahatma Gandhi, whose philosophy of nonviolence and commitment to social justice transformed the struggle for Indian independence into a global movement for human rights. Gandhi's leadership was characterized by a profound sense of humility and a relentless focus on the greater good. Similarly, Nelson Mandela's leadership in post-apartheid South Africa stands as a testament to the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. Faced with a deeply divided nation, Mandela chose the path of unity, demonstrating that true leadership often involves making difficult choices for the sake of long-term harmony. These leaders, like the Dalai Lama, understood that the essence of leadership lies in serving others. They recognized the interconnectedness of human struggles and approached their roles with a sense of responsibility that transcended personal ambition. Leadership in the modern era. The challenges of the 21st century require a new kind of leadership, one that is adaptive, inclusive, and visionary. The rise of technology, globalization, and environmental challenges has created a world that is more complex than ever before. Traditional approaches to leadership, rooted in hierarchy and control, are increasingly inadequate in addressing these complexities. Modern leaders must embrace a collaborative approach, seeking input from diverse perspectives and building consensus around shared goals. They must also be willing to innovate, experimenting with new ideas and approaches to solve entrenched problems. Above all, they must lead with integrity, ensuring that their actions align with their values and the needs of their constituents. The role of empathy in leadership. Empathy is a cornerstone of the Dalai Lama's vision for leadership. In a world marked by division and conflict, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others is a powerful tool for building bridges and fostering unity. Empathy allows leaders to connect with the people they serve, ensuring that their decisions reflect the needs and aspirations of their communities. This quality is particularly important in addressing issues of inequality and injustice. Leaders who empathize with the marginalized and the oppressed are better equipped to create policies and initiatives that promote equity and inclusion. They are also more likely to inspire trust and loyalty, building the social capital necessary for effective governance. A call to action. The Dalai Lama's message is not merely a critique of contemporary leadership, it is a call to action. It challenges leaders to rise above the limitations of their circumstances and to embrace a higher standard of conduct. This call is as relevant today as it was when it was first issued. The world continues to grapple with a host of pressing challenges, from the ongoing climate crisis to the aftermath of a global pandemic. These challenges demand bold and courageous leadership, guided by the principles of wisdom and compassion. They also require a collective effort, as no single leader or nation can address these issues alone. Timeless relevance. The enduring relevance of the Dalai Lama's message lies in its universality. It speaks to the fundamental human values that underpin all societies, reminding us of our shared responsibility to one another and to future generations. In a time of great uncertainty, this message offers a beacon of hope and a blueprint for action. Leadership, as envisioned by the Dalai Lama, is not about wielding power or achieving personal success. It is about serving the greater good, fostering unity, and creating a more just and equitable world. This vision is as inspiring as it is challenging, calling on each of us to reflect on our own roles as leaders in our communities and beyond. In uncertain times, the need for courageous leadership is both profound and urgent. The Dalai Lama's call serves as a powerful reminder of what true leadership entails. It is a call to act with wisdom, compassion, and foresight, recognizing the interconnectedness of our world and the shared humanity that binds us together. As we navigate the complexities of the modern era, let us heed this call and strive to embody the principles of ethical and effective leadership. Whether in the corridors of power or in our everyday lives, we all have the capacity to lead with courage and integrity. In doing so, we can help build a future that is not only more stable and secure but also more compassionate and just. The enduring bond between Tibet and the United States. The Dalai Lama's letter also highlights the enduring relationship between the Tibetan people and the United States. The Tibetan people and I have been honored to have received the support of respective U.S. presidents and the American people. In our endeavor to protect and preserve our ancient Buddhist culture, a culture of peace, nonviolence, and compassion that has the potential to benefit humanity as a whole, he writes. This acknowledgement is significant on multiple levels. On a personal level, it reflects the Dalai Lama's gratitude for the solidarity shown by the United States. On a broader level, it emphasizes the shared values that unite Tibet and the United States, values rooted in justice, freedom, and the pursuit of peace. The Dalai Lama's emphasis on Tibetan Buddhism as a culture of peace offers profound insights into the universal relevance of his teachings. In a world often driven by competition and conflict, the principles of nonviolence and compassion serve as vital reminders of our shared humanity. Tibetan Buddhism, with its rich philosophical and spiritual traditions, provides a framework for addressing modern challenges with wisdom and empathy. The U.S.-Tibet relationship is also a testament to the power of international solidarity. For decades, successive U.S. administrations have supported Tibet's struggle for autonomy and cultural preservation. This bipartisan support has been a source of hope and strength for the Tibetan people. And the Dalai Lama's letter underscores the importance of maintaining this partnership. Broader implications for global leadership. Broader implications for global leadership. The Dalai Lama's letter transcends its immediate recipient, resonating as a universal call for ethical and compassionate leadership in an increasingly interconnected world. While ostensibly addressed to a single leader, its essence challenges the global community to reflect deeply on the nature of leadership and the principles that should guide those entrusted with responsibility. It raises critical questions about the moral imperatives that underpin effective leadership. Can leaders transcend political divisions to confront the world's most pressing challenges? Can they prioritize the collective well-being of humanity over narrow, self-serving interests? These are not just philosophical musings but urgent questions that demand immediate and practical responses. The core of ethical leadership. Compassion and wisdom. At the heart of the Dalai Lama's philosophy is the belief that true leadership must be grounded in compassion and wisdom. Compassion, in this sense, goes beyond mere empathy. It is the ability to genuinely prioritize the needs and well-being of others, even when it requires personal sacrifice. Wisdom, on the other hand, encompasses the foresight and understanding necessary to navigate complex, multifaceted challenges. The interdependence of compassion and wisdom creates a framework for leaders to approach their roles with a sense of purpose and responsibility. Without compassion, leadership risks becoming self-centered and exploitative. Without wisdom, even the most well-intentioned leaders may make decisions that inadvertently cause harm. Together, these qualities form the bedrock of ethical leadership, offering a pathway to resolve conflicts, bridge divisions, and inspire meaningful change. The challenge of political divisions. The modern world is characterized by deep political and ideological divisions that often hinder collective action. Whether it's climate change, economic inequality, or public health crises, the issues we face today require collaboration that transcends borders and party lines. Yet, many leaders remain entrenched in partisan politics, prioritizing short-term gains or ideological purity over long-term solutions. The Dalai Lama's call for ethical leadership challenges this paradigm, urging leaders to rise above these divisions and focus on the shared interests of humanity. One of the key obstacles to this vision is the pervasive us versus them mentality that dominates political discourse. This mindset, fueled by polarization and populism, creates a zero-sum game where cooperation is seen as weakness and compromise as betrayal. Ethical leadership, as envisioned by the Dalai Lama, demands a fundamental shift in perspective. It requires leaders to see beyond the narrow confines of their constituencies and recognize the interconnected nature of global challenges. This perspective not only fosters collaboration but also promotes innovative solutions that benefit all parties involved. Leadership beyond politics. The principles of compassionate and ethical leadership are not confined to the realm of politics. They are equally relevant in business, education, community development, and even personal relationships. In each of these domains, the ability to lead with empathy, integrity, and vision is crucial for creating positive and sustainable outcomes. For example, in the corporate world, leaders who prioritize ethical practices and social responsibility often find that their organizations thrive in the long term. Companies that exploit workers, harm the environment, or engage in unethical behavior may achieve short-term success, but they ultimately face public backlash, legal challenges, and financial instability. By contrast, leaders who adopt a compassionate approach, valuing employees, supporting communities, and addressing environmental concerns, build trust and loyalty that drive sustained growth. Similarly, in education, compassionate leadership can transform institutions and inspire future generations. Educators and administrators who lead with empathy and a commitment to equity create environments where students feel valued and empowered. This not only enhances academic outcomes but also fosters the development of responsible and engaged citizens. The role of interconnectedness in leadership. A central theme of the Dalai Lama's teachings is the concept of interconnectedness. In an increasingly globalized world, this idea is more relevant than ever. Economic systems, environmental challenges, and social movements are no longer confined to individual nations, they ripple across borders, affecting lives in ways that are both profound and unpredictable. Recognizing this interconnectedness is essential for leaders who wish to address the root causes of the issues they face. Interconnectedness also highlights the moral responsibility of leaders to consider the broader implications of their actions. Decisions made in one part of the world can have far-reaching consequences, often disproportionately affecting vulnerable populations. For example, policies that contribute to deforestation or carbon emissions in one country may exacerbate climate-related disasters in another. Ethical leadership requires an awareness of these dynamics and a commitment to minimizing harm while promoting global well-being. This perspective is particularly important in the context of conflict resolution. The Dalai Lama's emphasis on nonviolence and dialogue as tools for resolving disputes offers a powerful alternative to the adversarial approaches that often dominate international relations. By fostering mutual understanding and respect, leaders can transform differences into opportunities for collaboration and growth. Compassionate leadership in action. While the principles of compassionate leadership may seem abstract, there are numerous examples of leaders who embody these values in practice. One such example is Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, whose empathetic and inclusive approach to governance earned her widespread admiration. From her handling of the Christchurch mosque shootings to her response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Ardern demonstrated how compassion and decisiveness can coexist in leadership. Another example is Malala Yousafzai, who has become a global advocate for education and gender equality despite facing immense personal adversity. Through her activism and leadership, Malala has inspired millions to join her cause, proving that ethical leadership is not limited to those in formal positions of power. These examples illustrate that compassionate leadership is not only possible but also highly effective in addressing complex challenges. By prioritizing the well-being of others and approaching problems with humility and openness, leaders can create meaningful and lasting change. Leadership in a polarized world. The Dalai Lama's message is particularly relevant in today's polarized world, where divisions often overshadow our shared humanity. Social media, misinformation, and echo chambers have amplified these divisions, creating an environment where understanding and compromise are increasingly rare. In such a climate, the principles of compassionate leadership offer a pathway to bridge divides and rebuild trust. One of the key challenges of leadership in a polarized world is the need to engage with those who hold opposing views. This requires not only patience and empathy but also the courage to challenge one's own assumptions and biases. Ethical leaders must be willing to listen, learn, and find common ground, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. This approach is not about avoiding conflict or suppressing differences, rather, it is about transforming conflict into constructive dialogue. By focusing on shared values and goals, leaders can foster a sense of unity and purpose that transcends individual disagreements. This, in turn, creates the conditions for collective action and progress. The universal relevance of ethical leadership. While the Dalai Lama's letter is addressed to leaders in positions of power, its principles are universally applicable. Each of us, in our own way, is a leader, whether we are guiding a team, supporting a family, or contributing to our communities. The values of compassion, wisdom, and responsibility are just as important in these contexts as they are in the halls of government or the boardroom. For individuals, ethical leadership begins with self-awareness and a commitment to personal growth. It involves recognizing our interconnectedness with others and taking responsibility for our actions. By embodying these values in our daily lives, we not only contribute to a more compassionate world but also inspire others to do the same. A vision for the future. The Dalai Lama's philosophy offers a vision for the future that is both hopeful and pragmatic. It acknowledges the challenges we face while emphasizing the potential for positive change. By embracing the principles of ethical leadership, we can address the root causes of conflict, inequality, and environmental degradation, creating a more just and sustainable world. This vision requires a collective effort, with leaders and citizens alike working together to uphold the values of compassion, wisdom, and responsibility. It challenges us to move beyond short-term thinking and narrow self-interest, focusing instead on the long-term well-being of humanity and the planet. In the end, the Dalai Lama's message is a call to action for all of us. It reminds us that leadership is not just about authority or influence, it is about the choices we make and the values we uphold. Whether we are leading a nation, a community, or simply our own lives, we have the power to make a difference. The question is, will we rise to the challenge? A call to action for humanity. The Dalai Lama's vision extends beyond the political realm. His message is a reminder that leadership, at its core, is about service to others. It's about fostering an environment where understanding and compassion prevail over discord and hostility. This extends to how we engage with the world in our personal lives. Are we quick to judge, or do we take the time to listen and understand? Are we motivated by fear and self-interest? Or are we inspired by love and the greater good? His Holiness's message invites us to embrace our shared humanity and find common ground, even in times of disagreement. We all have a role to play in shaping a more peaceful and harmonious world. The Dalai Lama's teachings inspire individuals to think globally and act locally, to make compassion and empathy the cornerstones of our daily interactions. This is the heart of his philosophy. Lasting change begins within, yet its ripples can transform societies. Conclusion. A vision for humanity. The Dalai Lama's letter to Donald Trump serves as a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of global leadership and shared values. His Holiness's call for peace, stability, and cooperation is not merely a message for one leader but a timeless appeal to all those in positions of power to act with compassion and wisdom. As the world continues to grapple with complex challenges, the Dalai Lama's words resonate as a beacon of hope. They urge leaders to rise above division and work toward a more harmonious and just world, guided by the principles of peace, nonviolence, and compassion. In this spirit, His Holiness's message remains as relevant today as ever, offering a vision of leadership that can inspire generations to come.